Yeah, the question is, there's indication there might be alien life outside of the planet Earth, and the Quran might even have a hint or two about it. Yes, some ulama have talked about it under some ayat. My response, first of all, is who cares? Why? Because we have such big problems right now, such really big problems in front of us, that we don't have time to get into any of this stuff. When people come and ask me, what's your opinion about the Prophet's birthday? I say, I don't have an opinion about the Prophet's birthday, because that's not an issue. The issue is our children are doing drugs. The issue is kids are leaving Islam. That's an issue. You want to spend your energies debating whether it's halal or haram or bid'ah or sunnah, when you have people leaving the deen itself? What is wrong with you? It's a non-issue. What, should we pray 8 Taraweeh or 20 Taraweeh? I don't care. People aren't even praying. I don't care either way. Just there's more important stuff. This is the Muslim mentality has to change. Our mentality has to become, what is priority? What is the real focus? And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody by this, but I do believe it's hurting the Ummah. I personally am convinced of that. It's hurting the Ummah. What the Qur'an made a priority is a priority for us. What the Qur'an did not make a priority is not a priority for us. And when Allah, make a big deal out of the question where Allah is, people come and ask, where is Allah? Is He up in the seventh heaven, or is He everywhere? Did Allah ask that question? Did the Sahaba ask that question? Did they repeatedly ask this question? No. Our priorities should be the Qur'an's priorities. The things we repeat the most are the things Allah repeats the most. What does Allah repeat the most? Taqwa. Have taqwa, have taqwa. 200 sometimes taqwa. What does Allah repeat the most? Don't be like Bani Israel. Don't be like Bani Israel. That's what He repeats the most. That's what we should repeat. This is what should become our main concern, our priority. There are people, they don't pray. And even if they pray, it's like one of those, the fastest prayer record you've ever seen kind of prayer. You ever seen those? That's a cardiovascular exercise. It's a workout, their prayer. Okay? And then they don't pray. Number two, they have no problem with riba in their life. No problem whatsoever. They have inappropriate kinds of gatherings. They have done nothing to raise their children. They are engaged in all kinds of haram business. But when they sit and discuss Islam, they say, well, Islam, what does it say about, what is the seven heavens? What is that? And what does Islam say about slavery? And what does Islam say about, they come up with these, 4 wives. What's this issue with 4 wives? This is all their Islam is. You know why? Because they're so deeply drowning in sin, they don't want to address that issue. That's the real issue. So they don't have to address that, but they still want to talk about Islam, so talk about something other on the side in Islam that doesn't have to do with my real life. So bring that up to me. The believers are those who give other people preference over themselves, even if they are in difficulty, they are in even if they're starving. So we should exhibit that in every opportunity we get, making room for somebody else to sit, accommodating, giving somebody else comfort. These are every time you do that, you're living an ayah of the Qur'an. People come to me, a lot of parents come to me, even in this tour of mine, and have said, how do we raise our children in a Western society? How do we raise them? There's so many bad influences. Our children can go this way or that way or the other way. Let me just take 2 minutes to talk to the parents. You and I'm a parent also, you and I have to understand something. Allah has taken control out of our hands. We control nothing. You don't control the wind blowing outside. You and I don't control when a leaf falls from a tree. You and I don't control the clouds in the sky, or when a drop of water comes from the sky. We control nothing. So let's first understand that we can never control what's going to happen with our children. We can't even control what's going to happen with our own body. We can't control what's going to happen with our own next heartbeat. We are not in control. So the fact that you and I have this idea somewhere in the back of our head that we can control the outcome for our children, we have to let that go. And if there were people much more qualified as parents than you and me, there were prophets who were parents. They were much better parents than you and I will ever be. Yaqub alayhi salam will be a much better father than you and I ever will be. And his sons disobeyed him. And they were Muslims, and they disobeyed him. And they gave him hell for years. For years. And he would cry and cry and cry, and they would get angry at him. Instead of apologizing to him, they would get angry at him. They're the ones who killed or tried to kill Yusuf. They're the ones who took him away, and their father's crying, losing his eyesight, and they're yelling at their father. تَفْتَأُ تَذْكُرُ يُوسُف تَاللَّهِ تَفْتَأُ تَذْكُرُ يُوسُف حَتَّى تَكُونَ حَرَضًا. You're going to keep mentioning Yusuf? Get over it already. And that's a prophet's sons. And he did not do anything wrong in raising his children. He did a great job raising his children. But at the end of the day, no human being can control another human being. And if you think you love your children, let me tell you, our Messenger ﷺ loved his Ummah and loved even the Quraysh more than you will ever love your children. He loved the people that he was with. He had a love for humanity that you and I will never have. That we can't even come close to it. The kind of love, the kind of worry that he had for people. And yet Allah told him, لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. All you can do is remind you're not in control. First reminder I give myself and all of you, we can do our best. We can provide an environment. We can provide a kind of tarbiyah. We can provide a kind of thinking, prepare our children. But at the end of the day, just like you and me, our parents could not control us, and that's the truth. Our parents could not control us. You won't control your children. It won't happen. But then what can we do? What can we do? We can hope to raise children like these young people in the cave. That's what we can do. That because Allah, when He said about these people, إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. That's the first key. These were young people that had faith. They really truly believed in their master. Once that iman is there, then their future is guaranteed by Allah. وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. We increase them in guidance. The guidance will come. When iman is there, then the road doesn't get paved by the human being, the road is paved by Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal has given us this incredible guidance. But you know what? Sometimes we don't follow that guidance because we think somebody will not like it. Your parents won't like it. Your family won't like it. Your friends won't like it. Your society won't like it. If I follow Allah's guidance, how am I going to buy a house? If I follow Allah's guidance, how am I going to save money? If I follow Allah's guidance and I don't spend this much money on this wedding and don't spend that money, what are people going to say? You didn't spend, you were cheap. If I don't follow, so sometimes following Allah's guidance means you have to hear other people's comments. And so many decisions in your family are made because you are slaves of other people's comments. You make so many bad decisions in your life because of other people's comments. Those people will not help you. The only thing they're good for is comments. And yet, when it comes to influence, you're not influenced in me, I'm not influenced by Allah, we're influenced by people. And we have to let go of people. And if we are enslaved by the opinions of others as adults, then what do you think our children are going to do? Why do you think our children are going to be any different? It's just a different kind of people, different kind of influence for a different generation, but it's the same disease. It's the same problem. We haven't freed ourselves from the fear of people. And we haven't freed ourselves to only have fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah says, فَلَا تَخْشَوْهُمْ وَخْشَوْنِي. Don't be afraid of them, be afraid of me. And once you can do that, and once you experience that a little bit, it's a scary thing, it's not easy. But if you can do it, it's the most liberating thing. It frees you from so much grief and so much sadness. Because now the only one you have to worry about is Allah. And Allah loves you more than anyone else will. Allah protects you like nobody else will. Allah will provide you like nobody else will. And all the fears that you have, the only one who can get rid of your fears and get rid of those dangers is Allah. At the end of the day, you and I are not going to decide what kind of people they're going to be. They're going to have to decide that for themselves. We just have to make that easier for them. My final advice to myself and to all of you is that we have to, whatever little time you have with your children, right now they're off, right? You still have work. So you come home, you're tired, or most of the time mothers, the only conversation they're having with their children is about food or cleaning or homework, day-to-day things. Those are tasks. That's not a conversation. We're not going inside the minds of our children. We're not having them open up to us. They're not telling us about their fears, their anxieties, what they love, what they have questions about, because we didn't create that environment for them. We didn't make that easy for them. The easy thing to talk about is, can we go eat food outside? Can we go get this food? Can we go watch this movie? Can we go get this game? Can we go buy these shoes? Those are the conversations that are happening with our children. But the real conversations, those conversations right now, they're happening with their friends. They're not happening with you, they're happening with their friends. Some of your kids have phones. And what are you doing? Nothing. Who are you talking to? No one. What are you talking about? Nothing. Non-stop. Non-stop. They have so much to say. Why? Because they're not opening up to you. So they're opening up to somebody else. If you really want to help your children, open up to them to the point where this is happening with you, not with someone else. Not with someone else. Facilitate good friends for them. These young people were able to save each other because they were each other's friend. If our children have bad influence friends, then what do you expect is going to happen? Which is why being part of a masjid, being part of there's a youth group here, there are youth activities here, making your kids part of those kinds of activities so they make friends of other Muslims. That's actually a part of saving them. And these children did not become amazing because of their parents, did they? They didn't become amazing because of a positive environment. As a matter of fact, these young, incredible men that we recite about in the Qur'an are born and raised and spent basically their entire life in a negative, un-Islamic, evil environment. So when you and I think what will save our children is an environment, the Qur'an is painting a different picture. An environment can help, and the environment doesn't save a human being. There's a world inside a human being, and there's a world outside a human being. The world outside the human being can be whatever. It could be good, it could be bad. The real difference will be what's happening inside. What's happening inside of a human being. These young men thought. They inquired. They became people who reach conclusions for themselves. When you tell your children, pray, 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 you're telling them and they don't even know why. They have no idea why. And when they don't know why, the moment they turn into teenagers and they get a choice for their own, they turn 16, 17, 18 years old, they stop praying. And then you say, we went to Islamic school. We took you to Sunday, Saturday school. You memorized so much Qur'an. You used to pray right next to me. Why are you not praying anymore? What happened to you? Somebody did some magic on you. Please, bring him to a Sheikh and the Sheikh will blow over his head or pat their head and then they'll start praying again. That's not what happened. We never made them capable of thinking for themselves. If the only reason they were following this religion is because the parents told them to, that's not good enough, because that's the reason somebody else may be Christian. That's the reason somebody else may be Buddhist or Jewish or something else. Because their parents are. They told them. The moment the parents are gone, the religion is gone. The religion is gone. We have to now empower young people at a young age to be able to think for themselves. The Qur'an is constantly calling not for obedience. The Qur'an is first calling people to think. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ Think, and think. How often do we have conversations with our children where we make them think about this religion? Why do we believe in Allah anyway? Why should we accept the Qur'an? Why is the Qur'an the perfect word of Allah? Why, if one day I am dead, why should I be able to tell my children, when I'm dead, what are you going to do? I won't tell you to pray. I won't tell you this is halal haram. I'll be gone. Then it's just you and Allah. Then how are you going to, why would you follow it? And sometimes I have to ask my boys and girls some of these hard questions. So if I'm dead and your mother's dead, your parents are gone, no family left, and you guys are on your own, why would you still pray? Why would you still pray? I asked them those hard questions. Why would you still follow and stay away from haram things? Why, if you made a mistake, why would you still make tawbah? Why not just say, it's okay, it felt good, should do it again? Why not? You see, Allah Azza wa Jal describes these people in such high terms. He put them in the Qur'an. He put these young people in the Qur'an. These people were not scholars. These people were not prophets. These people were not hugely knowledgeable. These people did not give speeches or long years of da'wah, nothing. What makes them amazing, so amazing that Allah honors them in the Qur'an, is that number one, they were young, and they decided that they're going to live their life in the way Allah wants them to,